Live from Kingston, Jamaica. Here comes Wayne the Lonesome. Bless up, man. Yes, man. Bless up, bless up, bless up. All right. So me have some things to go on in idea, but tell me what now. My run through couple things with Mia Mottley, the Barbados Prime Minister. It's a must. Me have to do that. I have to do that today, because the woman I lead the Caribbean by far, Yeah, man. Barbados. And in our leader role, and she going good. You understand? And it's all about the people them, She don't leave out the people them out and nothing at all, She don't do like our Jamaican politician them where, bless up, Ingrid, up. What Jamaican politician them give one talking and then them go on the corner and give a next talking and them thing there. So me say, no, me I forget about the feature. She remind me of Manley too, man. You see me, I say she born 65. Yeah. Man there run she young kid. I grew up and taking, but that idea them solid. I mean notice she stand up, even with her money, she can talk about her money. I can show her thing with her on the big stage. I show her thing with her when she took over and walk on in our country. I show her next thing in her. I show up on the big stage first the other day. Right? How she talk and how she put her thing them together. And then I show you how she angle back. I can show you a thing with her in our parliament. We have Jamaica have the parliament, Bless up. Yeah, man, Valentine. Jamaica have the parliament. We have an Enromagan house, criminal house. You understand? So let me show this first now. Let me show this.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The pandemic has taught us that national solutions to global problems do not work. We come to Glasgow with global ambition to save our people and to save our planet. But we now find three gaps. On mitigation, climate pledges or NDCs. Without more, we will leave the world on a pathway to 2.7 degrees, and with more, we are still likely to get to 2 degrees. These commitments, made by some, are based on technologies yet to be developed, and this is at best reckless and at worst dangerous. On finance, we are $20 billion short of the $100 billion, and this commitment, even then, might only be met in 2023. On adaptation finance remains only at 25%, not the 50-50 split that was promised nor needed given the warming that is already taking place on this earth. Climate finance to frontline small island developing states declined by 25% in 2019. Failure to provide the critical finance and that of loss and damage is measured, my friends, in lives and livelihoods in our communities. This is immoral and it is unjust. If Glasgow is to deliver on the promises of Paris, it must close these three gaps. So I ask to you, what must we say to our people living on the front line in the Caribbean, in Africa, in Latin America, in the Pacific, when both ambition and regrettably some of the needed faces at Glasgow are not present? What excuse should we give for the failure? In the words of that Caribbean icon, Eddie Grant, will they mourn us on the front line? When will we, as world leaders across the world, address the pressing issues that are truly causing our people angst and worry, whether it is climate or whether it is vaccines? Simply put, when will leaders lead? Our people are watching, and our people are taking note. And are we really going to leave Scotland without the resolve and the ambition that is sorely needed to save lives and to save our planet? How many more voices and how many more pictures of people must we see on these screens without being able to move? Or are we so blinded and hardened that we can no longer appreciate the cries of humanity? I have been saying to Barbadians for many years that many hands make light work. Today, we need the correct mix of voices, ambition, and action. Do some leaders in this world believe that they can survive and thrive on their own? Have they not learned from the pandemic? Can there be peace and prosperity if 1/3 of the world literally prospers and the other 2/3 of the world live under siege and face calamitous threats to our well-being? What the world needs now, my friends, is that which is within the ambit of less than 200 persons who are willing and prepared to lead. Leaders must not fail those who elect them to lead. And I say to you, there is a sword that can cut down this Gordian knot, and it has been wielded before. The central banks of the wealthiest countries engaged in $25 trillion of quantitative easing in the last 13 years. 25 trillion. Of that, 9 trillion was in the last 18 months to fight the pandemic. Had we used that 25 trillion to purchase bonds, to finance the energy transition, or the transition of how we eat, or how we move ourselves in transport, we would now today be reaching that 1.5 degrees limit that is so vital to us. I say to you today in Glasgow that an annual increase in the SDRs of $500 billion a year for 20 years, put in a trust to finance the transition, is the real gap, Secretary General, that we need to close, not the 50 billion being proposed for adaptation. And if 500 billion sounds big to you, guess what? It is just 2% of the 25 trillion. This is the sword we need to wield. Our excitement 1 hour into this event is far less than it was 6 months ago leading up to this event. Can we, with those voices and these speeches from Sir David and others, find it within ourselves to get the resolve to bring Glasgow back on track? Or do we leave today believing that it was a failure before it starts? Our world, my friends, stands at a fork in the road. One no less significant than when the United Nations was formed in 1945. But then, the majority of our countries here did not exist. We exist now. The difference is we want to exist 100 years from now. And if our existence is to mean anything, then we must act in the interests of all of our people who are dependent on us. And if we don't, we will allow the path of greed and selfishness to sow the seeds of our common destruction. The leaders of today, not 2030, not 2050, must make this choice. It is in our hands. And our people and our planet need it more than ever. We can work with who is ready to go, because the train is ready to leave. And those who are not yet ready, we need to continue to ring circle and to remind them that their people, not our people, but their citizens, need them to get on board as soon as possible. Code red to the G7 countries. Code red to the G20. Earth to COP, that's what it said. Earth to COP. For those who have eyes to see, for those who have ears to listen, and for those who have a heart to feel, 1.5 is what we need to survive. 2 degrees, yes, SG, is a death sentence for the people of Antigua and Barbuda, for the people of the Maldives, for the people of Dominica and Fiji, for the people of Kenya and Mozambique, and yes, for the people of Samoa and Barbados. We do not want that dreaded death sentence. And we've come here today to say, try harder, because our people, the climate army, the world, the planet, needs our actions now, not next year, not in the next decade. Thank you.
Yeah, when they make them big speech, you know, all right. So just look at she, you know, but we want to go back to her home now when she just, I can't remember, she come in power 2018. She win the election around May 2018. And make with us hear about her plan. And look how she back her dollar. Because she now going to make it the value and mash up them life. Make her show now how she back her dollar. Just listen this. Listen this.
Prime Minister, the Honourable Mia Mottley. Joining the Prime Minister this afternoon are the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs on the Prime Minister's right, Honourable Gail Marshall. On the Prime Minister's left is the Minister of Home Affairs, the Honourable Edwin Hickson, and on his left, Minister of Information, Broadcasting and Public Affairs, Senator the Honourable Lucille Moore. We also have on the Attorney General's right hand, the Director of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mr. Ian Carrington. The Prime Minister has just returned from Washington, D.C., where she and the team met with officials of the International Monetary Fund, and she will be reporting this afternoon to you on her visit to Washington. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good afternoon to all Barbadians. I thank you for the opportunity of being able to have a very brief press briefing with respect to what we've had to do this week. As members of the public are aware, I left here on Wednesday afternoon in order to be able to see Madame Lagarde at the International Monetary Fund, the Managing Director, and with me was the Governor of the Central Bank, the Ambassador Clyde Maskell, and the Director of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mr. Ian Carrington. We were clear that we needed to go and meet, having discussed 2 weeks ago with her the need for Barbados to request the IMF to come in and discuss with us liquidity support because of our poor international reserves position. Since then, as you know, we delivered a budget to the people of Barbados through the Parliament, and we have been able to move on with our discussions to see how far and how quickly we can go. At the very outset, we made it clear to the social partnership and to the country on Monday when I spoke that what is at stake is our ability to preserve the Barbadian quality of life and to preserve our value of our dollar. We have inherited a situation where...
You hear what she does say? Shall preserve the quality of life and the value of her dollar. Now watch that. Yeah. See me, I said the value of the Barbadian dollar. Because our dollar, you know, you have a little money in your account. And each time the dollar devalue, you know, have nothing, you can't buy nothing because we are depend on the US where we import everything. See? It make you a poorer person. No care what you do. See? And I mean, here our government, anytime them drawing a Henry Morgan house, I'm going to hear them a pass legislation for a lock up some more people, for do this, to go do that. Nothing for uplift the place. Just listen now. Listen now. See?
Our net international reserves are precarious and where indeed our debt is unsustainable. Barbados spends just over $4 billion a year as a government. $1.8 billion of that is in debt, both in amortization and interest. In other words, in principal and in interest. It is untenable, and we therefore took decisions as well to suspend our debt payments. It is clear to me that there's been a lot of commentary and a lot of talk, and I've come really this afternoon to say to Barbadians that everything is on schedule and on plan with what we expect. And I want Barbadians to relax. We got this one. We got it. The bottom line is that when we met with Madame Lagarde, we were able to discuss with her and her team the framework that we've put on the table. We made it very clear that we had mission critical issues that we had to deal with, that we inherited a government with infrastructure that was largely broken, buses that Barbadians couldn't get, garbage trucks that are not functioning, a sewage system that is affecting the South Coast. And you will note that in almost every statement, either from the mission chief or even the tweet from Madame Lagarde herself, there's a recognition that there are things that the Barbados government must do, because we have strongly fought for it and argued that this must be the basis upon which we move forward if we are to keep our country together. Similarly, that there are groups of persons who have been without any kind of 8 years. Public servants did not have a pay increase. You cannot ask people to go on a long journey if you're not prepared to give them breakfast. It is as simple as that. And we are happy that our engagement with Madame Lagarde recognizes that our situation is urgent, that they are prepared to support, as she said in her tweet a day ago, Barbados' economic recovery and transformation plan, that as a result, they will be sending a team to Barbados on the 2nd of July to start discussions with us between the 2nd and the 12th of July. And anyone who knows anything about these processes will tell you that they are amazed at how quickly things are moving and how fast we are moving forward, because we recognize that uncertainty cannot serve the interests of anyone in this country. There are many of you who have said to me, slow down, you need to get some rest, you just come out of an election. I appreciate your well wishes, I appreciate your prayers, but I need you to know that it is in our interest to be able to get to the point where we can put the framework for what is our program behind us, such that all Barbadians can play their part. Because as I've said all along, we're in this together. We have inherited a situation that is almost a poison chalice. It is not fair, and I want to make sure that even as we treat to the issue of debt restructuring, that no future generation of Barbadian or this current generation should ever have to go back to this place again because of a government's utter display of fiscal recklessness with the manner in which they manage the affairs of the country, as did the last government. And as a result, it means that we're going to have to put systems in place.
So when you listen now, and the more you listen now, word to word, just make it run cross, and you are comparing now or Jamaica, anyway, Marga knows run. Marlon, big up yourself. Saying, Dean, bless up. Saying, just you compare some things or anyway, Marga knows work, where she talk about the whole of Barbados and the whole people and the structure, the infrastructure for uplift, everything she put in play. Them not do that. In a Jamaica, does when get up people just trample upon them and do all kind of crazy things. See? And she work. When IMF tell her to float her money, devaluate, get it, she tell them that not gonna work, She tell them, So she protect that a 2-for-1 same way, and everything go through smooth and she do her thing. But she not wanna come set up our country if you just fail. You move this and then the money devalue, plus you have to pay them back the money where you borrow, plus the interest rate alone, you will never stop paying them. She rather stay 2-for-1. I'd rather uplift our country that we are there. You see me I say? Yeah, because them keep country that we are there, but that's when you have puppet prime minister and government. When them say woo, you bar how. When them say jump, you just high and you jump. And then you put all kind of things on freeze. Listen what the woman do. She after the session now just come cut certain things. She move out all of the waste and all kind of things. Just go and listen.
I walk around. The arrears are now closer to 1.9 billion because every day new figures are being discovered. The Director of Finance will tell you that even as we were in Washington, we discovered that there was a lease payment due for the Sanitation Services Authority building, which is still unoccupied, which is not yet open, but the government would have had to fine $3.8 million on Friday.
So the government have fined 3.8 million on Friday for still pay for a building when about unoccupied. The first government before she come in. So these are the kind of things where them do. It happen in Jamaica now. You pay for some things our money are go all about. Them no really business. You understand? Here she'll tell you. So she put certain things from hold. Just listen. Just go and listen now. So you have still a pay at least a building when not occupied none at all. 3.8 billion she'd have forgot million. She'd have forgot fine. That if a 3 point, how much you say 3 point something? That are more than 1.5 million US. That are more than 200. 1 million US are like 156 million Jamaican. So that's over 200 million Jamaican. See? You see me? I said, this now.
To pay for that lease in circumstances where, in our briefings with the SSA, is the kind of disconnect. And I feel for the Attorney General, because he is being bombarded by literally every line ministry to be able to review agreements that have been discovered literally day by day. But the purpose for this press briefing is to say, look, we have this matter under control. I know that there are some who are a little nervous about the manner in which the comments are coming from persons with respect to debt. The bottom line is there is no easy way to say that you are suspending debt payments. There is no easy way to make an omelette without breaking eggs. And we have to go through the process. We make the point over and over that a lawyer who hires himself as a client is a fool. And the government of Barbados has hired some of the best advisories in respect to debt restructuring in the form of White Oak. The leader of the opposition sought to make that an issue this week. Mercifully, the first decision that the cabinet took was to place them under the Financial Administration and Management Act under proper footing in terms of their engagement. And secondly, they have a track record of having worked not just in the Caribbean in terms of Grenada and St. Kitts, where successful programs were entered and completed, but also in the Seychelles and Iceland and Pakistan, so that at the level of strict debt advisory, we've hired, in our view, one of the best boutique firms in the world. Similarly, at the legal level, we've hired one of the top law firms, if not the top law firm, on sovereign debt restructuring out of New York.
But it work. You have to just listen what she has to first, because you say it's a bold, dangerous, bold move. But she'll tell you, because it's like some man, they tie up some things, and the debt, certain debt, like inside, like all the building. You pay for your building 3.8 million when you use or nothing. Maybe you go run down that time when you look at sign to somebody where some family members or something or some friend of who, so them are bleed out. You have to cancel that and straighten it up. That you do, and it work.
My name is Cleary Gottlieb, and our particular partner who's dealing with us has worked on Argentina, has worked on Iceland, has worked on almost every major debt restructuring in the world, and indeed, I believe that some of the creditors would have wanted him to work for them. So we have this. Relax. We got this. There are those who may be politically motivated, who may want to tell you other things. Let us stay focused and give everything a chance to work out. As I said, we're happy that Madame Lagarde has responded on each occasion with dispatch. When I spoke to her, and it seems difficult to believe that all of this is only 2 weeks. When I spoke to her 2 Thursdays ago, within 72 hours, a team was dispatched to Barbados. When we met this week, when she said that she was available to meet, we went up and we had an excellent meeting where we were able to articulate clearer why we need to be able to have a baseline that takes into account fixing our broken infrastructure and protecting the most vulnerable in our society, and why we will continue to do the things that we have to do in order to be able to make the structural adjustment that is critical to make Barbados' government more fiscally responsible and to be able to see growth come back to our economy in a way that it has not over the course of the last decade. And they were comfortable, so much so that they have moved with alacrity now, as I said, to send down this team by the 2nd of July. The government itself is preparing itself for its negotiating team, and we are bringing back in people who we have here, as well as others who we need, to make sure that our negotiation team is a strong team, and to ensure that that which Barbadians will have to commit to in exchange for accessing support, and it's really a loan that you access from the IMF at very, very, very negligible interest rates, 1%, and that will allow us to boost our international reserves. But the importance of going to the IMF is also that it unlocks other international concessional funding. So the Inter-American Development Bank, for example, will now be in a position to start lending us serious amounts of capital.
Well, and you just say right along with Barbados. Barbados, I go Barbados for like more than 2.5 decades. Barbados, I mean, coming like a parish, you know, with like how much people there, like 300,000. Barbados should have decided Jamaica, and we should have lead in the English-speaking Caribbean. See? And you just say Jamaica should have the rights of the Barbados because we don't have no leader from when. You understand? Everybody had tear down the whole place. See? But you know, so what money value? It the value we not got a monopoly money we have. So when you look on a leader like this, when you look on her and you see what she do, you know, she not come here and with a bag of foolishness. Me I go into them parliament and I just show you how it run. And I like our one, where everything I just more lads, we just grab up poor people and nothing I do. We don't have no hospital, we don't have no ambulance, we don't have everything we lose. Do what them I do.
Now, what is at stake is our ability to preserve the Barbadian quality of life and to preserve our value of our dollar.
Here where she does say look a while, but she preserve. Here where the woman does say look a while, she them quality of life and the value of them dollar. What dollar reach? Wait there. Eh? That's what I listen, man. Here there.
We have inherited a situation where our net international reserves are precarious and where indeed our debt is unsustainable. Barbados spends just over $4 billion a year as a government. $1.8 billion of that is in debt, both in amortization and interest. In other words, in principle.
So, all right, let's go back down here, so where she there. Saying, so when she had our dollar with a business, government tell us say, oh man, our dollar can't go on, I want to preserve nothing and boom bam. And yes, and we have to have a free market because we depend on this and I tell you foolishness. I get what poor we are turning in a slave. For work, what people them for work and spend some bed and talk. Long time girl me not see you. And then you know, you turn the police in a more militarize the police force, more ghettos, more people hungry, and not now go and them align themselves. Bank of Jamaica governor get PM bigger than Nancy Pelosi, where she get and she the third in line to the presidency in the US. Or Google Gaga, I get PM bigger than enough for them commissioner there in a first world country. Or we stand this, or we are pay them in a first world, but we live in a third world country where we can't even feed the less fortunate. But them people are get them kind of money, if not all, or sit down and get them money. Fear, man.
Able to make decisions about their future, their jobs, their investments, their children, in a way that is seamless. And the only way that can happen is if we protect our quality of life and if we protect the value of our dollar. Most countries, as I said, take 9 to 12 months to go through this kind of IMF negotiations. I trust and pray that we will not take that long. And that is why we are grateful for the manner in which Madame Lagarde and the IMF team has responded with alacrity on each occasion that we've engaged with them. We too, however, must be ready to do so. And for those who say that there is a sloth, I have to tell you that when I asked the state-owned enterprises, I got, when we came into government, a position dated September 30th as to what their balances were. On the following day, I asked that we receive the May 31st balances by the 5th of June, and that those that don't come on the 5th of June, please ask the ministers, the chief executive officer, and the chief finance officers to meet us at 3 o'clock on the 6th of June. On the morning of the 6th of June, there were 3 entities that had not submitted. By the afternoon, there were 2. And of the 2, one was as a result of persons being unfortunately ill. People respond when there is discipline and there is leadership. And this government has a responsibility to the people who voted for it to make sure that we demand that there is discipline in the management of the affairs of this country. And we want you to know that everything that you're seeing unfolding is just part and parcel of the process. I remember, similarly, in terms of the engagement of expertise, when we went to arbitration, there were those who were concerned, why have we taken Trinidad to arbitration, what's going to happen? There was some anxiety. We hired the best counsel that we could hire. We went to arbitration. within 2 years we were in and out, and we got a decision that for 29, 30 years we could not get, and we got 99% of what we wanted. We have this under control, both in terms of our debt restructuring as well as in terms of the structural adjustment and the fiscal adjustment program. It is ours, and it is ours because we are the ones who've chosen to put in trust loans and to increase pensioners to non-contributory pensioners and to do the 5% pay increase to persons who have not had a pay increase since 2010. This is not a program written anywhere else but Barbados, because in fact it is written in the manifesto of the Barbados Labour Party, because it delivers on the mission critical points, it deals with the broken infrastructure that we advert to in the mission critical areas, but then it takes the point that the burden has to be shared fairly, and that those who believe that it is only labour to adjust, we say no, capital has to help adjust too, hence the debt restructuring. Those who feel that it is only Bajans who have to pay taxes, we say no, 3 times our population visits us when the year comes, and they help us, yes, greatly, but they also contribute to the use of the infrastructure, and we therefore ask them to carry a little something as we move forward together. For those who continue to say that we've excluded the cruise sector, a clear understanding of what took place in the social partnership knows that the only reason we haven't dealt with the cruise sector yet is because the government of Barbados signed that most unfortunate agreement with Global Ports.
That disagreement which you talk about the government before with them signed for almost 30 years, like how you have government was signed with like 50 years concession, 30 years, this and all kind of thing. Just listen to what she say. This is how them sign we have, but hear what she gonna do. Just listen. Listen.
A week before, days before the election, that would give away the concession to manage our cruise tourism for $34 million US for 30 years, and $1 out of every $6 coming back to the port, plus the 34 million and 1/5 of any increase at all in the next 30 years. So 4/5 of any future increase in prices goes to Global Ports, and 5 out of $6 goes to Global Ports, and all we get back in return is $34 million. Now that is a travesty, and we have determined that in the next 2 weeks or so, we are going to have a meeting with the port and bring everybody to the table, because equally they sought to assign a 30-year agreement, AG, in circumstances where the port only has until 2030 from the Ministry of Housing and Lands, and therefore have no control over that property in the year 2031. So these are the kinds of things. Similarly, we've said with the international ECD, we are waiting for the private sector to bring its report at the end of July. I know Minister Toppin is working on it assiduously. When those 2 things come in, we will deal with it. Similarly with the betting and gaming sector. So we are going to make sure that everybody shares in the burden. But at this point in time, I want Barbadians to be assured we got it, and to relax, and that in the circumstances we will continue to keep you abreast. I'm satisfied that the meetings went in Washington much better than we could ever have contemplated in terms of the timelines, but the work now lies ahead of us to do, and we will keep the public informed every stage of the way, because, as we said, this is how we are going to govern. Okay? Are there any questions? Let me say that while I was in Washington too, I had the good honor of being able to meet with Barbadians in the diaspora. And there are more. I mean, they had very short notice, but a lot of them came out yesterday evening at the embassy, and they are all willing to help play their part, because people feel strongly that our country has been good to us, and when our country needs us, they're prepared to do the heavy lifting to help us at this point in time. So all in all, between that and we were able to meet with other high-level Barbadians and first-generation Barbadians who are prepared to also help us do the heavy lifting as a nation, and with our relationships. In addition to meeting with Madame Lagarde, we met with the US Executive Director, we met with the Executive Director from the UK, and of course the Canadian ones are our representatives on the IMF. And all in all, there is an atmosphere of willingness to cooperate with Barbados, because people recognize that this was a country that had a minus rating investment grade 10 years ago. And the simple question was how. And they know that this is not who Barbados has been for decades. So that there has to be some reason why we got here. And if it is capable of resolving, that they're going to help us resolve it in whatever way they can. So long, of course, as we are helping ourselves, because God helps those who help themselves. Yes.
Just give your name, please. Evelyn Emerson, Nation Newspaper.
You have answer now.
There have been concerns about the pegging of the Barbados dollar to the US dollar and possible devaluation. Can you allay fears that there will not be a devaluation?
Well, remember I said at the outset that all that we are doing is to save our quality of life and to save the value of our dollar. And with every succeeding day, I'm confident that we will get there. And that's why I said, relax, we got this one. Relax. The actions that we took on Monday, the others will tell you, and Director of Finance maybe should speak. I don't believe in being.
You should put emphasis on that, save the quality of life and save them dollar, because that make them stand up firm in the place. She know that. You know, IMF did go tell them about, you know, floated money. She not doing that. And she explained why she know that. She know that with them. Seeing our one reach 156 to 1. See? So right now, I never know. And then light bill, everything, them peg it to the dollar. And the way they are Jamaica, then I deal with it, say, okay, I peg it to Jamaican dollar. It peg to the dollar there. You understand? To US. It's bad. You understand? Yeah, man.
Boastful. But trust me, what we've done thus far has impressed people that we are a serious government, that we know what we are about, that we're not putting our people on the front line of adjustment, but we're asking our people to lift weight. But equally, we are serious about bringing Barbados government and Barbados, the way in which Barbados does business, into the 21st century. And that in so doing, that will bring about a level of competitiveness, which is a platform for growth, and that there are two ways to attack debt. You restructure to get rid of debt absolute numbers here, and you also grow, which deals with the GDP, so that if the denominator gets bigger, of course, the ratios get smaller. Okay? So I am reasonably confident that if we stay disciplined, if we focus on what we need to focus on, that we can get out of this. There is nothing to be gained by a devaluation of the Barbados dollar. We don't have any goods that are exported that will become cheaper. We don't have any. And in terms of our tourism is not price competitive in that way. Our tourism is competitive on the basis of quality. So we're not going to compete with Mexico and DR on price, but we're going to compete on quality, so that when we have sewage that's running on the south coast, that hurts our tourism. We have 4 international advisories. When we have an outbreak in crime, that hurts our tourism. When we have a public health outbreak, chikungunya or Zika, that hurts our tourism. So that the only thing we get from a devaluation, and this has been our message, is a hard lash for bad behavior. And we've had a lot of fiscal bad behavior for the last decade. The government went on a spending spree, and we don't see the results of where it went. We left debt at $6 billion. Debt today is $15 or so billion. Where has the $9 billion gone? We can probably build a sewage plant, as I said, on the south coast for 1% of that $9 billion. Where has the money gone? And that's what people want to know, because we have nothing to show for it. And once we keep paying interest, well, we then know where it is going, because we're just paying to keep our heads above water, which is why we say it is unsustainable. And anybody who is not motivated by partisan politics and who's an economist will tell you that they know that the actions which the government of Barbados have taken are the correct actions. We had to do it. We had to do it early. And we have to send the signal, look, the burden has to be shared fairly. I mean, and let us think back. We came out of a parliament where one of the same persons who spoke this week from George Street was the biggest proponent of debt restructuring. It is true that he only wanted it through the United Arab Emirates for whatever reason. We've chosen to do it the traditional way. Secondly, the former Prime Minister also was a big proponent in every budget speech for the last 3-4 years that he made that Barbados, I remember the first one he made clearly, that we cannot continue to take 68 cents of every dollar of revenue and spend on debt. So that all the Barbados Labour Party government has done is to act with dispatch and to put the country's interests on the front line. The fact that we've had 2 engagements in less than 2 weeks with the managing director of the IMF is very, very gratifying to me. We're not unequally yoked. We are being treated with respect and they've acted with dispatch, and we are very grateful for that. I am going to tell you that on Wednesday, we will host the president of the Inter-American Development Bank, President Moreno, who is coming in, and who, when he called last week, said, look, we want to come and stand shoulder to shoulder with Barbados, because we recognize that Barbados is doing a difficult thing, but is doing the right thing and acting in this manner. And they know, as we do, that once we settle this arrangement, it unlocks hundreds of millions of development capital for us to fix our broken infrastructure and for us to create a platform for greater competitiveness. Okay?
Yeah, but she want to fix the broken infrastructure. Yeah? So she want to fix up the broken infrastructure in our place and tell everything what them want to do, and the people them, she just want our people them all right. Our government I go backward. Them no want nothing at all. Them just come up with something and some draconian laws and them thing and just chat. And when a voting time. But with all the value, the sugar factory them closed down. Yeah. And everything you can think of bad, but we don't have no plane for ourselves, we don't have no train. Yeah, the wharf them divested, the airport also, so we don't have nothing. See, we don't have nothing. A country like that, where them come see with things, then we don't have nothing. And them still tell us, say, okay, yeah man, operate with this and that because we want right. Them can't tell me nothing. Let me look how them look at parliament run now. I make a hear what she say in our parliament, if them make a bag of nice and them laugh out and go out with them bag of foolishness and call people them kind of name and thing. Let me hear what them are saying in the parliament. Yeah.
Let us pray. O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come. Merciful God, as we bow our heads before your presence, we place in your hands the needs of this nation. We ask that you will give wisdom, ability, sound judgment, and honorable purpose to those who govern and represent the citizens of this land. The task is difficult, the duties are many, and the responsibility is heavy. Therefore, we pray for our elected leaders gathered in this chamber and all who assist their work. As your people, Lord God, renew our faith, strengthen our hope, enlighten our understanding, and enlarge our charity. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Let's say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
We start?
So you see, you the bag of nice and thing like in a Enwamaga now set them thing there. But more I hear them thing where them a pass and where them a work on. Cause our thing every time them a work on something. I just be a nice and be a sitting them going within the same. You understand? And call name and who this.
This house is in session. Meeting for the Minutes for the meeting held on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021 to be deferred. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be deferred.
The question is that the said minutes be deferred. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. The said minutes are deferred.
Announcements by Your Honor the Speaker. Messages from Her Excellency the Governor General. Petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motion for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of today's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Government business.
Government business is the order of the day. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Constitution Amendment Bill, which notice was given on the 20th of September 2021, be substituted with the newly revised bill dated the 27th of September 2021. The revised bill has already been circulated to members, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the Constitutional Amendment Bill, the previous Constitution Amendment Bill, be substituted for the current bill. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
Order number 6, sir. In the name of the Honorable Prime Minister, to move the second reading of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2021.
Shall I deal with the Constitution Amendment Bill because shall move the Queen, them that move the Queen. This is just September, you know. They're sitting, right? Just want to take it in me today. I know you the bang and nice and thing like in the Eno house. I know we were in a pirate house with some pirate tonight, you know. So I just look at Parliament one, you know. All right, cool. In a Caribbean.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise with the honor, Mr. Speaker, of being able to move the second reading of this constitutional amendment bill, which quite simply seeks to do just 4 things. 1, to revoke the Barbados Independence Order of 1966 as an order in council of Her Majesty, while saving and keeping complete the Barbados Constitution, which existed only as a schedule to that order hitherto.
People don't notice, look on the tag that's the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, you know. Economic Affairs and Investment, you know. Yeah, man. Shalaya too. So you say she hold the finance ministry, because I make sure put it back in play, you know. Yeah, man.
2, to make provision for a Barbadian to be a head of state of Barbados. 3, to change the oath of allegiance from that to Her Majesty to now the state of Barbados. And 4thly, to ensure continuity in all of the other aspects and functioning of the state of Barbados through all of the offices, appointments, commissions, and everything flowing from the prerogative that was hitherto exercised in the conduct of the affairs of this country, while at the same time vesting all that previously was vested in the Crown, now in the state of Barbados. This is a very simple bill in its terms, but a fundamental bill in its action and intent. This is a bill that allows us to say to the world that we, Barbadians, as we move to celebrate the 55th anniversary of nationhood, would want to complete the process and to build on that which was done by those who went before. It is in no way intended to take away from the work of the father of independence, or indeed the father of democracy before, because without the right to vote and the capacity to control our destiny, we would not have been able to become independent. But what it does is to allow us to close the circle with respect to independence and to move to another state of our development, thereby allowing Barbadians to say to the world that we have the confidence in ourselves to be completely responsible for who we are and what we do and what we say and all that surrounds itself with the nation of Barbados. This is an acknowledgement of the prescience and indeed leadership of those who went before in previous parliaments, starting of course with the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow, who was responsible for the acclamation that we went forward with respect to independence on the 30th of November. And we believe that just as this country was able to, with confidence, take that step, that what remains now for us to do in terms of both the symbolism but also the reality of the actions is something that is entirely within our province and something for which there ought to be a simple, natural step. Mr. Speaker, somewhere across this land, there are little boys and girls who live out their dreams and think about what they want to be when they grow up. And we would want, as a parliament, that among those boys and girls, there should be a legitimate ambition to be the head of state of this nation. It is no different in the United States of America. It is no different in Brazil. It is no different in many other countries across the world. It is no different in Ghana. It's no different in Kenya. We would want, similarly, for a Barbadian boy or girl to believe that they can, in their own right, in their own skin, in their own country, be equal to the task of being head of state of their nation. And we say this without any rancor, because we accept that since modern settlement in 1625, the head of state has been the monarch of the United Kingdom. And that has had its own torturous journey. But we accept that in recent times, our relationship has been one that has been based on mutual respect, and that has seen us work collaboratively and with respect, as I said, with the monarch. In this particular instance, we are particularly thankful and extend our courtesies, all courtesies and gratitude to Her Majesty the Queen. But there comes a point in the life of a nation when time simply has come. And we believe that that time has come in our nation effectively, while not being matched by the legal and constitutional arrangements of our nation. And it is against that background, therefore, that this government has taken the determination, has taken the decision that the time has come for us now to complete that process. Mr. Speaker, this bill that is before us recognizes that the Barbados Independence Order of 1966, which flowed from the legislation thereto, had as its schedule the Constitution of Barbados. And the truth is that many people, when going to look for it, might well have been confused because of the fact that our Constitution, like that of many other Caribbean Commonwealth countries, was simply the schedule to an order in council made by Her Majesty, and not a standalone piece of legislation as we have been accustomed to doing in every other instance. This bill today repeals that Barbados Independence Order, while preserving the schedule, which is the Constitution, as the Constitution. And we took the deliberate act of ensuring that we had broad consultation from a legal perspective. There were different views. And in the end, the Honorable Attorney General and myself would have requested an opinion from the former Chief Justice, Sir David Simmons, and the former President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, Sir Dennis Byron, who by a quirk of circumstances happens to be in Barbados today as we debate this bill. Their view, like those of Mr. Justice Sherman Moore, who was responsible for the drafting of this legislation, is that this entirely works in a manner that allows us to repeal and preserve, while at the same time allowing the government to remain committed to our intent to start the work on a new constitution from January of next year. And what do we mean by that? I've said before in other places that the government will ensure that there will be the most comprehensive consultation, not just by having a bill that may be 150 pages and giving it to somebody for 2 or 3 months without guidance, but a consultation that goes chapter by chapter by chapter by chapter, because that is exactly how our Constitution is written, as you know, Mr. Speaker. And the first set of the chapters deal with the fundamental rights and freedoms. We believe that a new Constitution should deal with fundamental rights, freedoms, and responsibilities. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is to build a nation where active citizenship is the hallmark of that nation. And if that is to be the hallmark of the nation, then it ought to be reflected in the terms and content of the Constitution. But that process is for next year. And that process will see the kind of consultation that we saw with the Thorne Commission, which, as you know, went around this country, almost every parish, speaking to Barbadians with respect to the content thereto of what our local governance systems should be developed and evolved to reflect. And to that extent, it is that similar type of process that we expect to take place next year.
You know what, I smile, I'm going to stop this because somebody asks why she apologize. Why apologize to someone that use and abuse you? And somebody has a still mental, you know, subservient. No, won't even, you know, when she has said, when she say I'm sorry, I wish she had said, if you listen to the woman act say good, she has said she'll go away, she'll split. A time for me leave. So then like she apologize because this and them were gone down deep down in our road, and I have to listen to the woman carefully, you know, man. You understand? Just listen what she has said carefully, man. She has said a time for me leave now. And that she said 66, that and that, but them never cut clear. But sorry, we're gonna leave. We have to dip our 1 foot. That woman does say, yeah? You understand? Sometimes you have to listen it keenly, you know. You have to listen to the thing keenly, man. Yeah, man.
Mr. Speaker, we believe that that is where the effective and real consultation will lie. With respect to this bill, as I said, this bill does nothing else but seek to make a Bajan the head of state of Barbados. And it is as simple as that, because that is the lacuna that will take us from one point to the other. By also revoking the order in council, we make the clear statement that we want to be in control of our affairs as a republic. We do not intend, and as a parliamentary republic, we do not intend for this country's name to change. We've made that absolutely clear. The other members of the government have made it clear that the name of Barbados remains Barbados. And we don't need to change our name in order to be able to advance in the process of independence. Similarly, we're not changing the date of independence because we don't see this as anything other than a complete continuum to what was started first in 1950 with the right to vote and the passage of the Universal Adult Franchise Bill, then with the Act of Independence in 1966, and now with the act of making a Barbadian the head of state and removing.
You still ask the same question again because you're not listening to the woman. Because you say, oh, can I be independent and still have to ask permission from them? She move the queen. You're not listening, man. But you just like type. Yeah, man, but you're not listening to woman. She tell you what she do. So you still ask the thing, everything you listen and you understand what she say. You say, oh, can she tell you them for the them own and put in them own thing, and she don't have no time. The time come now, for she do all of these things. Me never know you know what. You just pick out something, man. You have to listen, man.
Our constitution from the status of being a schedule to a British order in council. Mr. Speaker, these are therefore simple things that we believe that are necessary at this point. And what we want to be able to do is to ensure that just on December 1st, 1966, saw this nation rise united as we greeted the world as the newest independent state on December 1st, 1966, that we equally want to have a situation where this country closes that process in a dignified manner, places its own national as its head of state, separates in a dignified manner from Her Majesty the Queen, with gratitude for her role in post-independence Barbados for sure, but recognizing that without that, we will continue always to have doubts in the minds of our people as to whether we are truly independent and whether we are truly in charge of our own destiny. Because if we have to send to the palace in order to confer honors, or we have to send to the palace in order to appoint an ambassador to a non-Commonwealth country, then, Mr. Speaker, we do not and cannot say that all power resides and locates within the nation state of Barbados. And it is as simple as that. It's not a lot of long talk, it's not a lot of long action, but it is simply making sure that in the same way on other aspects of our governance, we can make the decisions fully within the geographical jurisdiction of Barbados. We want so to be able to do so on all of our actions and not just the majority. Mr. Speaker, it therefore, as I said, is a matter first of fundamental pride. And if you go back to where this government stands, we in the establishment and in the publication of, our Covenant of Hope, made it very clear, the document that speaks to who we are, what we stand for, and what we will fight for. In 2016, when this Barbados Labour Party in opposition settled the Covenant of Hope, we recognized that the boosting of our country's self-confidence and national identity is the foundation from which all other things spring, including that sense of confidence that will affect how we look at ourselves in the mirror, whether we love who we see, how we treat one another in our families, in our communities, in our country, whether we are prepared to work to higher levels in terms of productivity, all of these things come back fundamentally to the type of person who we are and our sense of self-confidence, our self-esteem, our ability to rise above and to recognize that this is who we are. And you hear me say that all the time, because the essence of being Barbadian matters. The essence of being Barbadian separates us from others. The essence of being Barbadian allows us to want to pursue those things that we believe to be intrinsic to the nation state of Barbados. The recognition that we want to stand up for something, particularly when it comes to fighting against injustice and to fighting for social justice. We want to make sure that this country forever recognizes that a person should not be condemned simply because of the circumstances of their birth, and that there should be no office outside of their reach, not even the head of state of this country, in terms of their aspirations and their achievements. Mr. Speaker, we believe this to be fundamental.
Not even the other state. Right now, you have people where you want to see the other state right now, them run your way, you know. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You want to see some people, because if them put in some puppet gorilla general, you can't just go up there and go see him, so and what have you. You hear it, but she said that even not care who, you must be out of reach. See? In Jamaica, you're out of reach until election day again. Election time will come round. Everybody come and say fix road and do all kind of things. This, in them parliament, I mean, hear the bag of noise and the bag of foolishness. We have an Envermagan house around. We have some puppet guys. Yeah? The testosterone must say around that them, you know, yeah, something and lick pan them like toward or something like some wrong goat or something, and them rank up themselves and them ready. And mash up a whole place. And people sit down and not say nothing about them. I'll be a criminal and pirate them. See? Can you imagine a woman have a head on her body when a little small state, but so powerful? And we have so much thing, you know, we lose everything, you know, we have nothing, you know. Them sell it out. And sit down and call themselves honorable and all kind of things. Mix up in everything that's bad. You see me, I say? We just hear a little bit more there. Yeah, man.
To this nation, and if we are to give our children the opportunity to be global citizens anchored by Barbadian roots, anchored by Bajan roots, that they must have that confidence that they can be all that they want to be, so long as they're prepared to be the best that they can be. Mr. Speaker, it is fundamental. I served as Minister of Education in this country for 7 years, and regrettably, I've seen too many examples where people are doubting themselves and doubting their capacity, and they carry it with them throughout their entire lives. And very often when you look at somebody in their 50s or 60s and you start to deconstruct what is really the issue when they're going through a difficult time, it goes back to that sense of self-doubt and that sense of, did somebody really love me? Did somebody really accept me? All of those things. And Mr. Speaker, I say so conscious that that determines the level of output and the level of gentility and the level of compassion and the level of all of the things that are necessary to make us a successful society, a great civilization. We believe always that we should speak truth to power. So when people ask me, well, how do you go to the United Nations and say what you say? Aren't you frightened? Mr. Speaker, friends of all, satellites of none. It wasn't just a statement from Mr. Barra. It was a reflection of the essence of who Barbadians are. Let us deal also with the whole question of education. This government's first act, one of them, was to be able to literally give our young people the assurance that we would not limit their horizons by refusing to pay for free for their tertiary education and post-secondary education in this country. And we felt that it was critical to do so because we know from generations that the most important gift that a parent could ensure that their child receives in this country is the right to an education, because more often than not, that education would secure that child's path throughout their life and their capacity to be able to be the best that they can be. Mr. Speaker, these things are intrinsic to who we are as a Barbadian, and therefore we feel that this process of completing the circle is but the natural step that this generation, particularly those of us born at the time of independence, who carry no doubts about why we should be independent, who have no doubts about the correctness of the decision made in 1966, we feel we have an obligation to close the circle. And Mr. Speaker, I've said many times about closing the circle of enfranchisement. And why? Because in 1937, when we had the rebellion, not the riots, but the rebellion that basically said that Barbadians wanted to claim their own destiny, that was the step that sought to build on the work before of Charles Duncan O'Neill and others who tried. And when Marcus Garvey came here in the 1920s, that started to build on the whole act of political organization and political mobilization, so that...
So I forgot drop in even to our Enomaga knows no, but that's my ear what them talk about, right? So I have to drop in 2 things with them. It's a must. I have to, because you cannot play she alone and then you not play 2 things from Enomaga now, see? So let me see what them are going with you, so. See? Me what them are going with you.
Funeral services are not permitted during the period ending June 2, 2021. Madam Speaker, we appreciate the emotional strain that this measure is causing, but we have no other option at this time.
So you see the funeral service there? Not permitting, but we see them have funeral service I keep. I remember just going back in them thing again, more and see something else. Budget. Let me see that budget, yeah. Cause them talk with different things, and them talk with that saying. All right, so let me see what I want.
To the hospitals, we have been to the churches, and we have been on the buses. We have been all over the island. And the universal cry of the people is, it is not working. Mr. Speaker, let us be clear. It is a good thing to pass the IMF test. However, the government must also pass the growth test. The passing of the IMF test alone will only mean more pain and pressure for the people of Jamaica.
All right, so you remember these things, you know, you pass the IMF test, more pain and pressure. That are in opposition and all kind of things. And you remember saying, so you can come and tell me these things, and then you turn a prime minister, people say run it. Go and see something up and all kind of things, and then be a foolishness forget. Be a foolishness, be a badness. You know, sometimes we get a thing like this too, you know. Sometimes we get a thing like this.
Madness is that. Tax the poor. Refuse to pay the teachers struggling, and say and give up $4 billion to bauxite multinationals. What kind of government is that? You know, sometimes, Mr. Speaker, it looks like macaroni running the government.
The leader of the opposition spoke about macaroni.
Hey, people. This is all them pity, you know.
I'm going to buy a picture.
This is all them pity, you know. Hold on there. This is all them pity, you know. Once a macaroni in a government, and then you got hear back an answer, because then fling word, you know, be a word and thing, and then we not get nowhere. So I could just hear where macaroni, me just hear what them say, because you can get back an answer. This is how Jamaica run. And we take it for nothing at all. The country not running. So once a macaroni run it, then we will come back. Hear this now. Let me hear the answer. You could hear the answer, you know. See? Hear it.
And Mr. Speaker, we couldn't figure out who he was calling macaroon, or who he was referring to. But Mr. Portland found macaroni.
sit there. All right.
Apparently,
So Mr. Portland, that sound like a Darrell found macaroni. So them go talk about macaroni and like a two different ladies, they make sure go find who near macaroni and carry him come in a Morgan house. Them thing like a macwe. See? Them a macwe. So you have the opposition said I must say macaroni around the government. Then them go and I tell you who is macaroni. This not nothing to do with the economy around. Nothing at all. See? All right, let me go on here. Them find macaroni.
Let's speak up. Macaroni operates a bus.
Yeah.
And he lent his bus. He lent his bus for a day to a friend who happens to be a supporter of the leader of the opposition.
Yeah.
And the friend, Mr. Speaker, the friend crashed the bus. And everybody now wants to blame macaroni. I mean, the story is just so ironic, apropos. I mean, the story is the leader of the opposition in his presentation tried to blame the government for everything. But the truth is that it was we who drove the bus and wrecked it and created the problem. It was you who was driving the bus in the 1990s and wrecked the country. You, sir. You are macaroni.
So the country was.
And I believe macaroni is here. I believe macaroni is here.
Now you carry a man, find him, you carry him stand up. What this do to our country? That me I tell about these guys. I'm more than them do these things of distraction, you know. You understand? Deflection, you know, to take you off of the reality or the place around. I mean, I show you how a leader look out for them country and what them are deal with and what have you. They make a bag of nice like this and go on with bare foolishness. You see me I say? Me can't listen to them, yeah, man. It's a pirate house. You see? And them pint and them go for who and carry macaroni in the place and I show him. They have nothing to do it in a budget. How go on uplift people life because the people are suffer the same way. See? People are suffer. You go find macaroni carry him. A parliament. And a parliament. Sorry, in my Morgan house, because it's a private house. See? It's a foolishness. Look at it. Look at them. We will laugh for this. For this to make it. What's that?
So macaroni.
Members in the gallery. All the please. Members in the gallery when you came in your advice.
Macaroni gave me a message. Him said, leave him alone. Don't call him name. Alright? Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have so much things to say, but the hour is what it is, and I'm going to scrap the rest of the speech because there's so much to report, so much good news to give to the country about the actions of this government, actions yielding prosperity.
Prosperity. Yeah, man. And that me I tell you, so the country, it go lean with these kind of guy. That's the one. Run up and down all about in them places. In them must smell like some bad rammy. Like a ram goat pen. When them done. Saying, and the country go lean. And them I tell them, oh, let me get some good news. And when them ready know, them just come with some things. If I have lock up more people and then strengthen more this and strengthen more that, more laws, because I'll get more lock up and more this. Nothing for move the country up front and think about the common man, common people. See? That's why I say the country I go back with. I'm more than clown them a pirate too. So when them act like this, them remember them a rob we, you know. Blind, you know, and them nobody now lock them up because the police them politically aligned, the big guys them. Each time a man come in, a man carrying him on commission, man carrying all him one commissioner right now. One commissioner. You see me I say? JPL, yeah man. See? Yeah man. A JLP and a JPL and PMP. Yeah man. See? So them carrying them one commissioner, them have them one people and them just line up. When you look now, the other day, I wish one of the board. Bobby man to queue, yeah, so them buy how much things and all kind of things, and when you look at us, the board, them not fire the board, them just resign. People up on the board, yeah, they something authority board, yeah, the authority, one of them board there over airport, or one of them board there manage the airport and them thing, the way you look, them just resign and that's it. See, people have thing in a hard work. Them have a part of hard work when you look them buy shares and have too much money. Them the turn over the 4 billion. The one bag of foolishness and then the country just a slide down the hill. And we have them look a big idiot. I walk up and down all them do. Permit the road and water. Look on the road them in Jamaica. Just go around and look on them. No time at all them no fix. The money they nearly 160 to 1. To 1. So a man have now $10,000. And it value 1.5 at million. Eh? Somebody now in a UK have 5,000 pounds over 1 million Jamaican that. 1 million. And you go check most Jamaican now, them don't have a bank account. Most Jamaican don't have 20,000 cash pandemic, you know. Put on one side, you know. Majority Jamaican, somebody dead them sick, them have a big money from them family member overseas and some friend. That's part of the whole place. See? How the country for run so. Can't run some more, man. You understand? So you have to show up like Mia Mottley now. And show what she come in and she do. Them a make nice here, them a make nice. Them not make nice, man. Them just stay there and them a deal with for them thing. See? We know for us hold them accountable and make them stop. We don't want to know you're not shot from them. Me hear Lisa, I forgot to play her. Me hear Lisa come and make her speech, you know. And Lisa come and say, I forgot to play Lisa's speech. And it makes sense. See? Because them just realize, say, hey, we not rate, you know. We not rate them. See? Play a little bit of Mia Mottley there, just a little bit more, and then just upload Lisa right now too. Just add
ordinary people could have control of their destiny in a way that was not being appreciated or agreed to by the then British colonial government and the colonial office. Mr. Speaker, that rebellion made it possible for us to push past in a cataclysmic way almost, such that it led forces to form the first political party, the one that I have the distinct honor to lead. And that political party started in March 1938, less than 1 year after that rebellion, making it absolutely clear that it was a direct expression of the uprising that took place hitherto in July 26, on July 26 of 1937. That by March 31st, 1938, less than a stone's throw away at Martineau House on Bay Street, that event took place less than a stone's throw away from Golden Square is of significance for me and in the recognition of the journey that we are taking. There are some who felt that it was inappropriate for me to speak on July 20.
When this term ends.
All right, so before Lisa speak, I say, yeah? Because Lisa can talk right now, yeah? All right, so before me make you talk, right? You hear how for them parliament run and them a deal with who wanna deal with them thing. You hear our parliament them go look for man when Bush pass and macaroni for just answer and waste a bag of time and all kind of things that tell a bag of foolishness. Here Lisa come and tell them the truth, you know. Hear this now. Hear this. Reality check.
What will we all be known for? What will be our legacy? Will it be based on the number of food packages we gave out? how many funerals we attended, or better yet, how many bags of fertilizer we could give our farmers. The role of MPs to Jamaican people is as clear as mud, and it is time we define what ought to be our purpose. Madam Speaker, we are no longer respected by the people, and this is obvious by the way we are spoken to.
Yes.
Or spoken about.
Yes.
There isn't much reverence to the positions anymore, as we are often branded about as just another corrupt one coming to take something from the system.
What?
As we
We were in that.
2022,
We were in the one there. Never get forward. Of course, I'll be a corrupted. The next one come take something from the system. A reality. You understand? A reality. Them corrupted. I do some criminal. We don't rate them. People don't rate them. People have sense. I know we know.
When this term ends, what will we all be known for? What will be our legacy? Will it be based on the number of food packages we gave out, how many funerals we attended, or better yet, how many bags of fertilizer we could give our farmers? The role of MPs to Jamaican people is as clear as mud, and it is time we define what ought to be our purpose. Madam Speaker, we are no longer respected by the people, and this is obvious by the way we are spoken to or spoken about. There isn't much reverence to the positions anymore, as we are often branded about as just another corrupt one coming to take something from the system. As we approach 2022, which marks our 60th year of independence from Great Britain, both the PNP and the JLP have had almost a 50-50 year split at the helm of running this country. The PNP 31 years and the JLP at the end of this term 29 years. So there's enough blame if we want to pass around. It's time to press.
No man. Right there, sir, no. Watson, she just take the blame. She said enough blame. She'll tell you. She take the blame to man. Cause you listen good enough and see what them are saying, cause them know so we don't rate them. Too much of the foolishness. She tell you. You understand? She'll tell you, man. The whole of them, enough blame for pass on. Them tell you, man.
Press reset, Madam Speaker. Time for us to look seriously. Time for us to look seriously at the legislative agenda. Time for us to move away from doing what is popular to doing what is right. Our legislative agenda has been at a bit of a crawl, and while many countries have modernized so much of how they do things since the pandemic, the most we can really do and have been able to do is extend our care stimulus package and pass some legislation, while important, really has not redounded to the best interests of the bread and butter issues and everyday living conditions of the people of my constituency and others. Again, what will we be known for? It's time to look seriously at women's health rights. It's time to move on to the Republic status we've promised our people for so long. It's time.
The Republic status. This is where Mottley come and achieve already and do our thing already. Yeah? All right.
Time to provide water to our people and move away from the pale pan culture in rural constituencies. It's time to critically assess how we've been educating our children to compete in a global world amid the pandemic. It's time to reform our prison system and look at punishments ascribed to certain crimes and institute more laws to protect our people. It's time we reform our Sexual Offences Act to grant public access to the sexual offenders list. It's time to pass the National Assistance Bill to replace the old Poor Relief Act of 1886. It's time we be proactive and give personal tax credits, incentives and subsidies to Jamaicans to protect our environment with less CO2 emissions. It's time to replace the old Burial and Cremation Act of 1963 with modern funeral home regulations to ensure that consumers at all levels are protected while getting value for money, Madam Speaker. It's time to raise the minimum wage to a livable wage for all Jamaicans to be able to eat and take care of themselves and their families. It's time to break the monopolies that create high electricity bills.
So you notice them know, say, you know, people can't even buy food and all kind of little thing. It's time to do all these things. Yeah, so you see, We have the board party, man. We just wrap them up. Stop make them trick on us. Stop when election time them come and tell you and give you these kind of thing. I want to hold this kind of pill. Now hurt on yourself now. You understand? Yeah, man. But I see what's not man a time, man. Yeah, man.
It's time we debate the motion I tabled here in February for the methods of achieving a fundamental mindset shift to structurally transform Jamaica's economy into an internationally competitive, value-added export country and products and services that we have a global competitive advantage in. Yes, Madam Speaker, it is time to be courageous in our legislative decisions and step away from the Santa Claus status we have taken on. Prime Minister,
notice them know, them know, you know. Because them have some Santa Claus status now and some pirate too, man. A big pirate. Yeah, man. Santa Claus a criminal, you know. Can go through people roof. Remember that. As I said before, I'm going to say it again. Paula, big up yourself. There is no way. If you're a black man and you do what Santa do, you go up on a man house and jump down through him fireplace and them thing there. Remember, if that type of police carry you in alive, but me know people are going to kill you. You understand? You're going to people's house. Santa blocking a people's house. With a bag there with them depict can show me. Santa can't just come knock your door. Your kids them going to sleep and him give you the parents and say put it down for them. But him creep through you. That's what them give you the mythical Santa business there. A criminal. A good thing Santa white. So them are give it, I tell us a Santa Claus thing them a deal with we. That for sure them know what them are do. You understand? We not trust them. Burn them, man.
It's time for you to be courageous. Madam Speaker, I believe my time has ended, but I put the question to all of us again, and to you. At the end of this term, what will we all be known for? What will be our legacy in this Parliament? Winning elections is generally forgotten. It's time to give Jamaicans hope in the life they can live in their country of their own birth. It's time for us to leave our footprint rather than doing the temporary assignments that will, in the end, the tides will wash away. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All them do is say we are here and make up organize. See? All them says we are here and make up organize. People, them have local government election around February, so you soon see them come and knock on the gate. The pale culture not done yet, you know, so you must have some steel pea, you know, and pour, you know, and put on and plastic bag up, you know. We can't hear man, choke man. Because when I throw it in a bush, when you make sure you have it, people not going to get to the people to the same thing fence. When you say, oh, if them push to the gate, you just fling it, you never see them. You understand? Yeah, man, because them are making no live so you no greet them. Yeah, man. You understand? Them they're supposed to come now on a place. They may touch it and come now on a place. It's well steel. So, you know, you just make the little bomb with it. Nice plastic bag and thing. Yeah, man. As them say, them knock it. Like them are the wolf, granny, and the wolf, the wolf dress up like granny. Yeah? Or I run down the tree, they can pick the wolf there. Knock it, they say, who is it? Come in. And when you're flinging it, dude, sorry. That time them done, them have to take bush, you know. Because remember when they go bait for 10 days, you know, them not smell good not at all, you know, man. You understand? Make them go chuck off every MP. And who want to follow them? Want to make sure I have the bag of them and make one use the PL same way. You understand? Yeah, man. We have nobody fling it in a bush and bear. Just make sure you have the plastic bag, pay and pull, man. Well steel up, I want to make sure tight. You understand? Yeah, man. So as them lick and come in. And then you have some track where them are run down to, you know. So every man have it, I remember, gate after gate. So when them are tear go down and next one I lick them clot all about. When them reach back all them car, it don't mess up already. So when them are, I tell them, man, the fumes alone supposed to knock them out. You understand? It's time for them to give them some of them there in the bag. It's time like how them are give the time, and the time for them get back some of them there. You understand? Because them know so we know so them are criminal. And we not joke with them. We stop joke with them. Them mash up the whole of Jamaica. Youth them now in the future. Them come up with some little idiot thing. You come now and you say, right. Some people join the police force when they are 18 and 19 and thing. You come and say, right. Some people don't leave school till them 17 and 18. And them come and say, right. We have put 2 more years. Them never consult with the parents and nothing. Then you have some little one from Ministry of Education come out. Yes, we consult with the principal, but mostly over Zoom because we know nothing about that keep. And them consult with the parents. We have a parents on the board. But consult with the parents, hundreds of thousands of parents, millions of parents, right across Jamaica. See? And you say you consult with them and you just put it on, you don't know people and get them money and all kind of things. And I say, okay, this is going to stop the crime and violence. So where the work there for the 40,000 of them will leave every year coming up. Them not have the work. We don't say you have much subject and them will get prime minister work. See? But a time for the people them band together and stop hurt themselves and stop put them they all pirate them, take people for idiot. I mean I tell you say you sort them when you want to try make sure it well still too. Yeah, man. And who have the same PL, when it's full, you may just make sure of a bucket, man. Yeah, man. And you set it up. You set it up over your gate. Make sure you put two. Because I remember in a zinc fence, you can set up 2 pieces of board. That when a man put something and you have the string there, you tie it on the gate. So when them push it, it just empty up everything in him, you know, from top, you know, so it beard him. Him know you baptize him. Even in here and filter and pour and pee. Baptize well still. So you know the day when them come as them push one gate and you say, come in, you know, never fling it for them to tell them excuse to. You know when them the big nice PL. So as them push it because the string tied to the gate or it's set, you know, 2 board and set it. So it just turn it over. So same time pandemic, you know. As them push, right. As them say, yes, it's me. Whether you're prime minister opposition or anybody. When you say me, it can't have it dab them, you know. Yeah, man, because see them a take bush, man. You see me, I say, yeah, man. So it's time for them get them own medicine, man. Jane, they make them go take bush, man. You understand? So some of them think they want to make them use the bag and all kind of things, and I fling it in a bush, set it up for them because look, a matter of fact, who first I get it when they come, the same councillor them. I remember them a mash up on things and police go mash up on the things and all kind of things, you know. So them are look the job back again now, but them a councillor. Make sure now have the thing them type in the back for them. It's time for to baptize them in the name of PM Poo. You understand? Yeah, man. It's time, man. See? Get rid of them, man. Them for go, man. You understand? I make sure not take nothing. We don't want them come though, but we not take liquor and come buy on and liquor and come knock on the gate. Me say, we need to set up the PL them for them, the same PL we not use. So they may know better. And then by the way, we need to just get somebody from in our community and vote for them. Yeah, man. You just vote for independent councillor right now, because local government will come up by February. So when I put in them, then you know, free up the thing, them and put in the right thing. You understand? And then when the election will come again, them scrap them out. Not joking with them. No make nobody come tell you nothing. The road not fix no one nothing no do, you know. Nothing no do, you know. The one up the place that would break down up in a man PM Poor man. Yeah, man. The place where they break down for that St. Andrew, they don't fix the road. And when we look, me see Prime Minister, his wife, and 2 other people, me don't know if I found the road, a cut thing, and Prime Minister say, well, we don't have to move out from now is the time because the government cannot do this. And listen, a people money are collect, a taxpayers money and your money. We not take it pay on yourself. The whole of the road them in Jamaica for fix. The infrastructure should have fixed long time. When you can go up, they're going to take the Blue Mountain Peak, coffee and all kind of things, but it not have no good road up there. And you say, people live there from ever since, from slavery days. People, them land and everything, is a place where you get the coffee and get all kind of things. And yesterday I tell people, you have to move off because when this come and all, kind of stop on the foolishness. See? A time for people face, you know, I make on a face, you know, one judgment. Can people still like me, you know, yo, because when you not going to face me, you know, because when you know, say, when you can't come and bring no politics and politics to lonesome. Because it not going to work with me. When you know, say, straight bun, me I go bun out. You understand? Yeah, man, people don't get serious. Now go and do some work. Hear this now. You see the Cyclops, but you think, when you know, me have some more information on him. So, him did married. You see, him wife married to him have an ex-wife him did married before. When me just understand dead. See? So in past sister-in-law now, she can talk to me. She did her work. She's supposed to talk to me today. We must miss this. Because Cyclops, the sister make me know say around 6 months. Because the sister did at New Jersey. Him never did at New Jersey. She said her daughter stop the paper. The wife daughter stop the paper. That time wife die. Because them say, boy, like him run out to work and she got dead and the father overseas did want her body, but you know, him and the husband. And like she dead from when she dead in October, November. on the 5th of November. Around 5 years now. So what him do now, that's why him did one go. He must have been in Jamaica, but him did one go to Trinidad. See? So him did have them now give up the body, none at all, and overseas, you know, them now give all my father go there, so she never get the bodies. So them give me a long list of things about the Cyclops. We go down the one and take Kevin Smith place. All criminal to man. All criminal man and be a demon and be a sitting him talk. I may have some other things with him. So I need to talk about him. I'm gonna do some vice and stuff, but I need to talk about him. Definitely. I'm gonna talk to the passing law. Yeah, the first wife we pass off, we're gonna talk to her sister about him. Yeah, because I talked to her from the whole yesterday, but she didn't work. She leave from work, she don't home now. So I soon call her and knock her back because him wanna make sure him. We don't want them kind of people in our place that go on. That's why I'm going to take Kevin church and I'm going to lock down every church. You understand? You be a Eddie News, you know, all criminal. You see? A time for people wake up to we have too much church with them. Stop, make them come and put up more tent and all kind of thing. Them thing have to stop now, man. You understand? Him too. When Cyclops come on, if you have the PL for him too. When if you make them, yeah man, the stink bomb. When if you have it for him too, man. Yeah? And he just hear me. I say for him, I open the toy when it come to him in a slow motion style. When you see them, that's a PM pool there. Cyclops coming and talk about my lot long church. When if you have that, that's when you let it go. It a move in a slow motion to him and them just see it. Before it slap him, that one the way him open. Let me say for my open that one. If it take time for and shoot way. You understand? But Cyclops to get some of them there too. Stink bomb with name. Stink bomb. Yeah, man. When you then come, make sure him go be there 3 months. And the stinkness to come off him, because well still. Preserve under the sun. You understand? Yeah, man. Straight up, man. So me soon go talk to the sister here. Yeah, man. And the next thing what I want to talk about to people, I don't know if you see it on news last night. Anjo, you tell the people them say, you know, poor people, you know, people bad mind for your house. And poor people for have big house. I don't know how that mean, how you mean by poor people for have big house, so they might get the money for. You're poor, because you make them go out of the way now. Either go thief, go sell coke, go sell drugs, or do something. If it's a poor people for have big house, you don't have the money already. And you say big, and a 1 room and 2 room, you know. You have to have big house. See? No man a pay and poor for lick him. That nigga, not, you know, that nigga too good for him, man. Pay and poor, man, you know, the son, man. Granny know if deal with that, man. The remedy, they remedy him, man. Him stop preach immediately, man. Stop tell people lie. See? You say poor people have big house, but me say National Housing Trust, prime time news last night. I build a thing up a Ruthven Road. Them spend over 2 billion already. One of the unit, I must see 80 unit. One of the unit, because them a build one of them National Housing Trust where you build expensive home. A 37 million, one of them start from. So you say, oh, poor people can buy all these kind of little things. What you mean by me not understand this? Or housing trust a build them kind of thing that's starting from 30 million. When them that spend 2 billion from 1 billion, I build a 2 billion. And the starting price of 37 million. You tell me no, I never talk about the little matches box them for 9 million where the people them can buy right now. But how them afford that? I'm going to show you to the people because I like talk and show you the things them, you know. See, housing trust are supposed to venture into that. You have other people supposed to deal with that. I don't know what you do. Look how much people in zinc place and board up place and all kind of little things, Prime Minister. Oh, them take the money for do that. And you say poor people for this and poor people for that. Eh? You know what I'm tell about poor people for a big house, you know, poor people for live decent. I'm there where you step up because you tell people say big house and big house because you build big house and poor people only for this and that and them run and depend. Yes, so we get a big house. Because the little pay where you do, you're a poor man. It now you can afford it. And if it's a rich overnight, I must some drugs are scamming or something, unless you win the lotto. And you turn them in a gambling addict. See? But other way, oh, you can just get a big house the way you tell poor people. Yesterday I said one little matches back to 9 million. Now you make National Housing Trust go build place. I said it for 37 million at the starting price. None of them poor people, or them if them can't find 9 million, or them have pay 9, or them have 30 million, nearly 40 million for one house. Eh? Come on, man. Them look like the man who buy the house for 45 million the other day. And the pass, when name Education Minister Cruel Creed. Them look like Cruel Creed. Them not have them money there. 37 million it start from. Eh? When the evil, you know, man. But there, you know, I just go and do my work. But I talk to the lady, man. Soon I come back here. Loan some me there, me up here. Bless up here. Yeah, man.